What's up, YouTube bros? Today we're going to go over the greatest speed square hack ever. Or is it? Come on, we're going to talk about it. To start things off, we're just going to go through the entire process from start to finish in a little more detail than we did on our short, just so you get a good idea of exactly what we're doing with this. So, come on. Now, as we said with the short, to begin with, you need to know the pitch of your rafter. So in the short, we did a 4-pitch, so we'll just stick with that. So your pivot point at the top of your rafter, following this line down to your 4. And now that you've gotten it, you go ahead and take your brass nut, stair gauge, whatever you want to call it, attach that to the end of your speed square, and then secure it tight. Now that it's tight, you have the ability to apply pressure here, like you would if you were doing it this way for a straight cut. So again, that's really all the purpose of this is so now you can apply pressure with your hands at a safe place. Now, last time, didn't have on hearing protection. That was a big oversight on my part, so we're gonna go ahead and put that on. The other thing that we didn't do, but we were in a bit of a rush, didn't think of it, but it is true, you wanna set your depth gauge to roughly what the thickness of the board is. And I say roughly, what I really mean is about 1/4 of an inch deeper than what your board actually is. That should account for any variations and differences that are in it and simultaneously make your cut a nice smooth one. So now we move this out of the way, apply some pressure with your hand this way, making sure that that nut is firm against the board, and away we go. Just like that, you got your perfect cut. Note how smooth that is, no variation. I want to just go on record as saying right now that I don't believe any particular technique is the ultimate technique. I mean, yes, this is handy, and so is building a template and using that. So is using a miter saw to cut your rafters. Or maybe you're just old school and you want to draw a line and cut a straight cut with your circular saw. Those are all fine options for cutting common rafters. The main purpose of this is, in a quick setting, this will allow you to replicate the same cut over and over and over again, quickly and accurately. That's its only purpose. And if you can think of a better way to do it, then you should go with that. Now, we've talked a lot about the pros of using a technique like this, but let's go ahead and go over some of the cons. Now, the first con that comes to my mind is the simple fact that this stair gauge does not extend down that very far. Now, they make them longer so that it can accommodate a 2x, but if you don't happen to have one of those, then what can happen is if your board doesn't have a crisp edge like this one does, you run the risk of slipping past your board and messing up your cut, and that's the last thing you want. Now, the other potential hazard is if you're applying a lot of pressure to the stair gauge here, then you're also running the risk of it sliding up the side of your triangle. Now, your speed square shouldn't do this, and if you tighten this good and tight, that should stay secured, but you got to take precautions as you're doing it. Now, the other thing that comes to mind is a straight edge is only as good as the saw that you're using on it. Now, this saw is nice and square to the blade, but if you're using an older saw or a saw that's been tossed around a little bit in a van, what can happen is the blade to your plate can change in depth. Now, this one's perfectly straight, but if yours isn't, then this trick won't work at all, and you could wind up ruining your cuts. So again, I really don't think this is the ultimate technique for cutting a rafter. I, for one, for most of my career, simply drew a line and cut down that line. Now, as I've gotten older, got into finished carpentry, I started to appreciate the value of truly straight cuts using a track saw and various other tools. And so I tend to like to use a nice straight edge for my cuts. But the farther along you get in your career, the more you're going to make choices as to what works for you. And that's just great. There are hundreds of ways to do this right, and you're going to pick one of them and stick with it. And you're probably going to master it and do great things. But if learning this technique helped you out in any way, well, we're grateful we showed it to you. So, with that being said, stay classy, craftsmen.